Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Conroy-Roth, and you're watching the latest episode of Lightning Leadership. With me today is my friend, my compadre, my partner in crime, and for a very long time, BJ Miller. BJ, how are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you, Teresa. It's good to see you.
So excited BJ is definitely someone I think you should know. We're going to talk about a topic today, having to be bulletproof, or how do you become bulletproof, and what does being bulletproof even mean? I think back on my own career, and there's a number of times I wish I would have had this advice. So, BJ Miller, what does it mean to be bulletproof?
Well, in short, it means you're the last person that the company's going to get rid of. They value you. They look at what you're doing as essential. But the bottom line is, and I kind of use this tagline: you want to be worth more than you're paid. Is what it boils down to. So, yep.
So looking at kind of ways that you can be indispensable, ways that you can amp up your skills, right? Knowledge of the business. Tell us just some lessons learned that you've learned along the way.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the most valuable things I learned years ago is to change the paradigm about what you're doing and who you're working for.
Yeah.
If you're looking at yourself as an employee, then you kind of tend to be an employee, right? Like everybody else. But if you look at yourself as a business to that business, and they're buying a product from you, what product are they buying from you, and is it worth it? And when you start looking at yourself like that, and you start looking at yourself hour by hour, did they get their value out of what they just paid for? You start transforming not only the way you look at yourself, but what ends up transforming is your product. You know what your value is to the business. It just skyrockets at that point.
Yeah, one of the things we've talked about, I think, in our both in our work experience and our business experience, right, is that how to amplify yourself. Is it getting certifications, right? Is it taking on new job skills? Is it learning a new feature or function within your area? And I know you do a lot of that with the team that you work with. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely, yes. That's a great question. I work with a lot of young people, right? And I love doing it, right? Because they've got time, they're energetic, they're great to put on projects, and they're just eager to learn. And for project work, they're great to have because they're the type of person you can hand things off to it, and they'll be diligent if they get in that mindset. And one of the things I've taught them is this whole idea of you are a business to yourself, and you want to make yourself indispensable. So here's the problem with the young folks. When we grew up, Teresa, we were competing with the people in the city, right?
Yeah.
They're competing globally. They've got people, I mean, their jobs are being supplanted by people from various countries or AI now, right?
Yep.
So their bar is pretty high. So they've got to hit the ground running every day and think like, okay, how can I improve my product? How can I improve what I'm doing? How can I make the client, my business, my employers feel better about what I'm doing? And making yourself a business. So focusing on what is your product, right? Your product is, for me, technology expertise, right? So constantly increasing it through certifications, spending at least 20 minutes every morning of figuring out what's the latest out there in these topics of the areas my employer's in is indispensable. Just those 20 minutes has kept me like on top of where people think I'm a bona fide expert. I'm like, no, I just read this, but I'm now starting to understand all this. And they'll come to you for this type of, hey, BJ, what do you think about large language models and things like that? It's like, okay, yeah, we can talk through it. So, being diligent with your time, very disciplined at saying I'm going to take 20 minutes and hit current events. I'm going to spend at least a half hour, an hour to every other day on my certs, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to go talk to my boss once a week and say, how can I help you? What do you need? What's keeping you up at night? And you look like a business. I am serving that person. And
Amen.
Yep.
So when I first started kind of doing what I'm doing now, there were two questions that I asked, right? What keeps you up at night? Because I wanted to be able to help solve their problems, whether it was through me actively engaging with them or not, right? Mm-hmm. The other one was, what are you reading?
Yes.
And those were, I think, two really important questions to not only figure out, are they reading fiction or are they reading business or technology pieces? Are they reading, CIO.com? Are they reading Forbes Technology? What are they reading, right? Senior leaders, because those are the things that I wanted to read too, right? And
Hmm.
so that was more of a, how can I understand their skill set, and understanding where they get their ideas from. And so those
And
are,
understanding their pain.
and
Where are their pains coming from?
well,
Yeah.
that was the question, right? What keeps you up at night? Because
Mhm.
sometimes it's, people, process, technology, right? All of those things, and just how can you solve them? Because you look at cybersecurity, you look at infrastructure, you look at going to the cloud, not going to the cloud, looking at return on investment, cost avoidance. I mean, all of those things are critical. And I think for junior people, really trying to understand each one of them and unpack
Mhm.
each one of them will help them get to the next level. And being able to have somewhat of a, even if you can't have an intense conversation, you can at least ask some really good questions,
Absolutely.
right? And get some really good answers that can help take you to the next
And
level.
sometimes the questions you're asking will spark other people into thinking like, oh, here's how we're going to fix that. You
Yeah.
know, and that you brought up an important point too. Is it's the little things that you're doing that make you valuable and bulletproof. Like there's a lot of people who can point out a problem. Heck, we got death full of it. Like people like, oh, that's a problem. That's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
Never bring a problem up unless you have a solution. If you don't have a solution, at least be thinking of how you might have a solution. And that's what I teach my guys. Is like if you bring me the problem, start thinking about the solution, so
Yeah.
that we know that like, okay, you're not just a spotter, right? It's somebody who's working toward this. And what will happen is your company's going to value you as,
Yes.
yeah, this person solves problems, not just points them out or makes them. You know.
That's a great example. I think I had met someone many years ago who said, "Bring me the problem and bring me two answers, right?
Hmm.
That we can consider. We can consider a direction. What are you asking me for? Are you asking me to make a decision, or are you asking me to solve the problem? Because I can make a decision, right, with A or B, but to actually
Right.
solve the problem, I want to know that you did the groundwork."
Exactly right. And here you are, you're providing value to your employer because he doesn't have to do the groundwork and now
Correct.
trust that you've done it too. Like, oh,
Correct.
they bring it in, he's got it, give me the choices, do that one. Which one do you think, BJ? That one, I like it, let's go. And boom, they're done. Problem solved.
So you've got skill set, you've got certifications, you've got reading, you've got asking good questions from leadership and understanding the business.
Yes.
Anything else? Did we miss anything?
Now, I mean, the only other thing is putting your mind into your boss's shoes. We kind of brushed on that. What keeps you up tonight? Where's your pain? Right? Is
Yeah.
staying close to it, and that's just it. It's one thing to do that, but you want to kind of constantly think of your boss as a source of your business, right? If you had a business yourself, you'd be out looking for customers. Well, in
Yeah.
my business, it's what problems we have to solve. Where are we taking this? What technology do we have to implement? What client are you going after? Right? So my boss and you guys, and
Yeah.
Teresa's been the patron saint of my group because she's out there getting is constantly, looking for opportunities for us. And I truly say not just work, it's opportunity. She's brought
Yes.
us things we've never even done before, but you said, hey, you know what? I think we can gear up for that and
Yeah.
do it. And we do,
Yes, we
because
have.
hey, problem to solve, we can solve it, we can get it. That's how you grow and move.
That's how you do it. I think that taking you outside your comfort zone, right? You have
Hmm.
the skills and the abilities to do what you need to do. You just don't know that you can do them, right? Until you have the opportunity. And then you're like, I think I can do that. I think that is just enough of a stretch goal, right? That I can do this and I can really do it well. And it'll add some additional value, not only to the team, but also to the business. So just stretch a little bit, right? Just stretch a
Yes,
little bit. And I
that
think
is such a
that's,
huge point.
yeah,
That is such a huge point that you bring up because if you think, and I learned this early, there's no real growth without discomfort, right? I don't care what you're doing. If you're lifting weights, if
I
you're
agree.
training for a run, there's no growth without discomfort. So if in your job you're uncomfortable, you're probably growing. You're probably doing it right. But putting yourself in that space, you worry a lot, and you're not comfortable, and your anxiety goes up. But pretty soon you become very adept at living in the uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, they look at you like, oh yeah, they can take anything, man. I can shoot them with anything. They don't worry. They just keep right on moving. And
Well,
that's
I
what
think
those are the type of people that companies hang on to.
when I used to teach computers, one of the things
Mhm.
I'd always have the students do is to cross their arms, right? We
Mhm.
cross our arms right over left, left over right, however we do it, right? And then I would ask them to do it the other way, right? And it feels weird, yes, right?
Oh yeah,
You're doing something different, but the more you do it the different way, right, the more that'll feel more comfortable. And by
correct.
stretching yourself and throwing your equilibrium off a little bit, the more you do it, the better you'll get.
Absolutely, absolutely. Young people come up to me and say, how do you progress? How do you get to company?" It's right there. It's like being uncomfortable. They get the idea that they have to do everything perfect. They don't. Your employer knows when you're in an uncomfortable situation and appreciates you being there because they know you're working it out. And then when you get past that, you're the one that ends up getting promoted, or you're the
Yeah.
one that ends up getting the great opportunities. Is
Yep.
because you're comfortable with uncomfortable.
You know, the other thing I think of when I used to manage desktop folks, right? It was walk me through the troubleshooting process of X. My PC won't turn on, right? It was like, or I can't, my PC won't turn on. Walk me through the troubleshooting steps of how you'd go out to figure what's wrong with the PC, right? And it
Hmm.
was just more of the thought process of
Hmm.
how they went about solving the problem, because it could be anything, right? I don't know what
Right.
it is, but it was just walk me through from, from the wall to your screen, what you think you might look at. And that's one of those scenarios is, I think, not necessarily having the answers, but understanding the problem solving capabilities. You can do that in any situation, whether or not it be, taking the next step in your career, trying to figure out, work-life balance, right? Anything along the way.
Changing a recipe, fixing your car. It doesn't matter. Same
Right.
critical thinking.
Same critical thinking. And I think some of that comes with experience. Some of it comes with people letting you have a blank piece of paper every day, right?
Mhm.
That you get to figure it out. And I think that's the beauty of technology is you
Yes.
get to figure it out.
Yes, and that's the rewarding part.
Oh
When
my
you figure
goodness.
some of these things out, it's very rewarding for you, but then the people around you just value even more. Oh my gosh, look what they fixed. We got to bring this person. It's great.
Well, looking at your career from where you started to where you're going, any other
Mhm.
last minute advice?
I would say stay engaged. There's a lot of distraction with an internet at your desk all the time, your mind
Yeah.
can move. Be
Yep.
very deliberate, be very disciplined about how you're approaching your day. One thing I learned from my dad, I got the privilege of working him on construction sites, and he would be out of sight like literally an hour before everybody else, which means we left at like 4:30 in the morning to get there, right? And I hated
Yikes.
it, but
Yeah.
I learned from him because we would do is then that hour before that, he had the entire day planned out, worked out. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to do. His guys would come in and say, "You're doing this. You're doing this. This is what we're going to accomplish today." And they did because of the organization, the time they put into it. You may not have to lead like that, but if you organize your life like that, again, run it like a business, you'll be astounded at how much more your productivity will go up, but also how much like, everybody around you like, wow, you're really getting stuff done, and the people above it really appreciate it.
BJ Miller, I am delighted to work with you, and I wish you nothing but the best
Same.
for your future endeavors. For those of you that want to find out more information about BJ or some of the things we talked about, reach out to him on LinkedIn. We also have availability on YouTube and on Spotify. Once again, BJ Miller, absolute pleasure. Delighted to spend the last 13 years working
Indeed.
together and doing some really cool things along the way.
Same, Teresa. Thank you so much for everything.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.